So can you actually gain muscle and lose body fat at the exact same time? Now, if you've got a skinny fat physique and you look in the mirror and your belly's kind of bigger than you want it to be and you can't really see your abs, or the love handles are sticking out when you wear a t-shirt, it's kind of knocking your confidence, but at the same time the sleeves are kind of hanging off, and if the wind blows they kind of wave a little bit, and you've got these little noodly arms, you're probably skinny fat, right? Or at least in some way, shape or form, struggling with losing body fat and gaining muscle at the same time. And a lot of people tell you can't lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time. So it kind of leads you to think, well, should you go on a bulk and gain a bunch of size, but also make the love handles and side boobs bigger? Or do you go on a cut and kind of just look the same but shrink and lose what little muscle you do have already? So it's kind of a frustrating place to be, where you're not quite big and strong and you're not quite slim and jacked. So where do you start? And over the past few years, I have been helping skinny fat men lose body fat and gain muscle within about 12 weeks all the way up to 12 months. And since doing that, I've learned that there are 3 main mistakes that most skinny fat men make when it comes to trying to lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time. So in this video, I'm going to cover those 3 main mistakes that most skinny fat men make, and I'm going to talk you through what I would do instead. Now, the first mistake is not focusing on resistance workouts and focusing too much on cardio. Now, cardio is absolutely fine. I don't want to sit here and say, don't do cardio, it's no good. It's definitely healthy and it's definitely going to help you burn more calories. However, if you're doing too much cardio and not enough resistance training, over time, you're going to start to lose muscle, you're not building any muscle, and you're going to look like a smaller, flatter version of your current self, maybe a little bit leaner. However, if you're dieting and eating less food and you're doing a bunch of cardio, eventually your body will slowly adapt and your metabolic rate will slow down slightly, which means as you work your way down the body fat, you're still going to have those stubborn areas that you don't like, and they're going to be hard to shift. So how do we actually fix this? We want to focus predominantly on strength training. And this is for a plethora of reasons. One of the main reasons is the fact that you want to gain muscle. So if you're in a calorie deficit and you're eating enough protein and you're lifting weights, you can still gain a significant amount of muscle. And just to give you some proof, this is what my client Reese managed to do in 12 months. And he was able to gain all the muscle you see in that photo there purely in a deficit. So it can be done, but you have to train and eat the right ways. Now, if you're training with resistance, you're burning calories there and then whilst you're working out. It's easier to overload each session without making the session longer because you can increase the reps and weight. But also your body needs calories to repair the muscle tissue after the workout. So your body's going to need more calories during recovery. And then the benefit of this is over the long term, as you gain more contractile tissue, your body needs more calories to sustain it. So not only are you burning more calories overall, but you're also building your capacity to burn more calories in the long run as well, which means not only are you fixing the physique, but you're also able to maintain it at a higher level of calories. So you're actually building a physique that's sustainable rather than just borrowing it by trying to outrun the food that you're putting into your body. We want to focus on making sure we're getting at least 3 resistance workouts throughout the week, maybe 2 if you're super busy, and best case scenario, maybe 4 or 5 if you really want to speed things up. Now, Reese was doing this just by doing 2 to 3 workouts per week, predominantly focused on resistance, and then sprinkling in a little bit of cardio just for fun if you want to go for a run or a hike or something like that. The way I use cardio is I use it if I go over my calories by like 200, 300, I might chuck in an extra 200, 300 calories worth of cardio. I use it as a way to manage my calories and increase my fitness, and just, you know, it's good for mental health. Who doesn't like going for a run? It's quite good, but it's not going to be the main thing that's going to get the transformation for you. So let's focus a little bit more on resistance and less cardio. Then the second most common mistake I see is most men will just drop their calories down massively and aim for the lowest amount of calories they can physically manage, right? They might go, oh, my maintenance is 3,000 calories. So I'm just going to eat 800 for a bit and see how it goes. And of course, you know, for the first week, the scale's going to come down because you're eating such little food and you're going to deplete yourself of carbs and glycogen, and it might feel okay for a week. But once you're running on empty and you're trying to sustain those 800 calories, you're going to feel like crap. Your digestion's going to be rubbish, your performance and recovery is going to be abysmal, and you most certainly will go catabolic and lose muscle tissue. So again, you're not really fixing the skinny side of things. And if you're losing muscle, like I said in the first point, you will be lowering your metabolic rate in the long run, which means sustaining the physique that you've starved yourself down to is just not going to happen, and you're most likely going to put all the weight back on when you stop. Plus, any diet that's really restrictive is going to be very inconsistent to stick to, and as soon as life happens and you get invited out to a birthday party or a social event or a family meal or whatever, a date night, you're very much likely to go over those calories again. So trying to starve yourself is just not going to be the way. In fact, I've actually had clients that have come to me where they're previously eating 1,200 or 800 calories from what a previous coach has told them to do, and they've ended up gaining all the weight back as soon as they stop. Sometimes actually I have to tell these clients they need to eat a little bit more to make it more sustainable, which sounds kind of counterproductive, like, oh, you want to lose weight, eat more food. But trying to fix a skinny fat physique, we need to sustain the muscle growth while still being in a slight calorie deficit. The fix for this is very, very simple. We want to aim for a smaller calorie deficit instead of a massive one. And this is for a few reasons as well. Now, if you want some help working out these numbers and getting them right first time, I have a free nutritional blueprint you can download in the bio that will show you how to set up your numbers correctly, but also how to set up your macros and adjust them as you go along. First reason we want to eat in a smaller calorie deficit is so that it's more sustainable. And because it's sustainable, you can stick to it long enough to actually get the result that you want instead of just being so drastic and dropping the calories down. Because it's more sustainable, you can have more energy, better recovery, and you can be able to be more flexible with your foods and calories, again, making it more sustainable in the long run. The second reason we want a small calorie deficit is if we want to gain muscle, we can't be in 1,000, 2,000 calorie deficit because then you risk going catabolic and losing muscle. It means you might get injured in the gym, you're not necessarily going to gain any strength or performance or muscle, and again, you're just going to end up being a smaller version of skinny fat. If we're aiming for somewhere between a 300 to 500 calorie deficit, you're still able to lose maybe half a pound to a pound of pure fat per week, but you're still eating enough to be able to sustain potential muscle growth. And to be honest with you, you can even eat at a maintenance calories. And if your training is substantial enough and your protein's high enough, you can still lose body fat and gain muscle. It's just going to be a little bit slower and you may risk being in a surplus. So I often suggest a small deficit to make it a bit more sustainable and realistic and a lot quicker than eating at maintenance calories. Not to mention, you still need carbs to fuel your training, to get enough reps, to lift enough weight, and to break down and absorb food and have fiber. And you still need sufficient fats to look after your joints and your hormones and the absorption of micronutrients. So a smaller calorie deficit is much healthier, but it's also a lot more sustainable. Plus, if you're skinny fat, like I said, you're still likely to gain muscle. I have had several clients still gain muscle in a calorie deficit because we've aimed for a smaller deficit. Now, all that being said, there is such thing as metabolic adaptation. So just because you're in a 500 calorie deficit for a few weeks doesn't mean that those numbers are going to work forever. You will probably need to lower them slightly gradually as you go along. That's why we want to train with resistance, because if you're getting stronger whilst hitting a calorie deficit that's progressive, you'll be able to gain lean mass but continue to lose body fat and avoid hitting those plateaus. Make sure you grab the nutritional blueprint so you can get those numbers set up correctly, because if someone gave me that years ago, I would look a lot better right now, I'll tell you that. Now, the third thing, this is also very common. A lot of guys have come to me and they've been training really, really well. They've also been getting stronger and they've been tracking their food. And on paper, everything sounds perfect, but they've hit a plateau and things aren't working and they're just stuck, right? Some guys, I've even got some guys that have been stuck for 10 years before they worked with me because they thought they were doing everything right, because they pretty much were. This third mistake is a big one and a lot of men don't even realize they're making it. And that is not tracking your progress and pairing it with a clear plan. So what I mean by this is you're just going through the motions. You're going to the gym, you're lifting the weights, you're getting on the treadmill, you're doing the ab class, and you're going home, you're having your protein shake, you're having your chicken, broccoli and rice, taking your pre-workouts, creatine, multivitamins, you're doing all the right things that everyone's told you to do, yet for some reason your physique just looks the same and nothing's changed. And this is incredibly frustrating, and I've been in this zone several years myself personally. I'll just put up some photos here, right? I'm not sure what photos I'll put here, but basically here's a few years of fuck all progress for me tracking my food and working out and not really getting anywhere. And then once I figured out where I was going wrong and I figured out what strategy I need to follow, and I started tracking everything and adjusting it. As soon as I started paying attention to what I was doing each week and having a clear strategy that adapted with me as I improved, I was able to go from this to this. I was finally able to make things work and actually build the physique that I wanted. So essentially it comes down to, you can't improve what you don't track, which means you're relying on guesswork, which is going to lead to frustration, a loss of motivation, and most likely quitting or just falling off for long periods of time, which means you're going to go backwards. Without some form of progressive overload and adaptation to your nutrition, your body will adapt and you'll hit a plateau. I get comments all the time saying, oh, just lift weights and eat protein, bro, blah, blah, blah. And it's always someone that's, maybe not even old enough to go to a gym yet, or someone that's just started. I'll be honest with you, when I first started, about 9 months in, I thought I knew everything because I was getting stronger, I was seeing progress in gains. It was pretty easy, right? At the start, you get the newbie gains. Everything worked. I could do push-ups and I'd see a bit of improvement. And I'm like, oh, damn it, guys, push-ups are the way to go. Let's go. When I was 2 years in, 3 years in, I was like, everything I've been doing has not been working and it's getting confusing. And everyone's just telling me to keep being consistent. And I wasn't getting anywhere. And like I said, I've had clients that come to me and they've said, oh yeah, I've been training for 5 years and I've looked the same. So this simply means that you've hit a plateau because there's no structure, there's no planning, and there's no frequent reviews. Now, how I've done this to help get my clients the best results possible is once per week, we take a deep dive and go through their food, their nutrition, their weigh-ins, their performance, their overload metrics, their habits, how they've been getting on throughout things, and how they're navigating nutrition around having a busy schedule or busy life. And it's by doing this that we can plan ahead each week and actually know what to aim for and what target to change. I'll use my client Avi, for example. He wanted to basically get bigger and stronger and stay lean, but he was stuck in that bro cycle of doing a bulk and getting fat and then going on a cut, losing one the size, and basically just end up looking the same. So what we did is we put him on a lean bulk to basically main gain for like 9 months. And then at the end of those 9 months, we did a mini recomposition for about 12 weeks. So he was able to gain a bunch of muscle, but then lose body fat and keep his strength and size. So he was able to get a good transformation here naturally even after the newbie gains. And that's purely because we had a clear strategy that was mapped out for him and him specifically. You know, without going into the details of his personal life, he's a very busy chap, full-time student, works 12-hour days, has long commutes, lots of family responsibilities, and has a decent social life and still goes out and works on his car, etc. It's a busy chap, which is all the more reason why we had to have a specific strategy that was adaptive around him. He actually had 3 workout plans based on his week. It would even be, he'd have a travel workout plan, a turbo workout plan if he was strapped for time, and then his normal workout plan if he had a normal week, which was very unlikely. Point being is he had a strategy, he had structure, he had accountability, and a touch point each week so we can make sure it would work for him. Otherwise, he would just try and wing it, crash and burn, and get nowhere and hit a plateau and get frustrated like he was doing before. Or like my client Ross, who'd been trying fasting and doing loads of cardio and taking part in the gym classes and taking advice from PTs, and he just realized he wasn't getting anywhere, he felt like shit. And then he started to be full of self-doubt because everything he was doing wasn't working. And as you can see, in 12 weeks, he was able to lose a lot of body fat and gain a little bit of muscle and strength and performance in the gym, only training 3 days a week. Or like his friend Matt, who was playing tennis and doing a lot of cardio and fasting and doing the right things to lose weight, yet he still had a belly and wasn't getting anywhere. So we implemented a little strategy to work around his schedule and flexibility so that he was able to lose body fat and gain a bit of muscle, again, in about 14 weeks. Or like Matthew, who was overweight, did a lot of cardio, ate a lot less into a large deficit, who was able to go from overweight to basically skinny fat, where he's left with all those stubborn areas and couldn't quite shift them. So he focused on his strength development and improving his nutrition and adapting it each week so he was able to lose the body fat, get his abs in, and build a bit of muscle. Most men lack that strategy and understanding. They just keep looking for the plan that they're going to follow for the rest of the time, and they do that plan until it doesn't work, and then they jump to another plan and they end up just going nowhere. So my advice for this would be to find specifically where you want to go. So if you're skinny fat, it might be to lose body fat and gain muscle and be a bigger, leaner version of yourself. So take that goal and reverse engineer it. Where do you start? What do you want to do? What do you need to improve? And I would normally suggest start with a recomposition, so a slight calorie deficit, high protein, and focus on resistance training. Track everything and review it as and when needed, and make adjustments if you start to slow down and hit a plateau. And just by doing a simple recomp, you can end up with results like Reese, or like Pierce, or like Josh, or Leon, where they've lost body fat and gained muscle. And then once you're lean and you've gained a bit of muscle, you can always reverse diet and go into a lean bulk or a main gain phase and start adding some more size. Either way, you need to have a strategy. You need to make sure your plan is perfect for you and it needs to fit around your lifestyle. The best plan is the one that you can stick to and progress with, not the one that's, the most optimal for science. Now, if you're sick and tired of bouncing between cuts and bulks and doing this plan and that plan and getting nowhere, and you want to have the exact same help and strategy that all my clients have had, you can book a call with me in the bio and we have a chat and see if I can help you out. And if you want to know the brutal truths that will help you fix the skinny fat physique, you can watch this video right here. I hope this video has been helpful, and if you have any questions, you can always drop me a message on Instagram at Elite Transformation Project or in the comment section below, and have yourself a great day. But also go and watch this video. I'm going to drink my coffee whilst I wait for you to click this video. 3 coffees today. It's quite a lot, isn't it? Bloody good video, that.